we've got professionals from a number of disciplines, regulators, government officials, business leaders and academics. You can see we've got a diverse panel. I'm talking diversity in terms of economics, investment management.
Yeah, it's events like tonight are very much around our public interest remit. If you look what's going on at the moment, there's a whole set of drivers which are actually driving short-termism in a market that really should be long-term. It's the long-term market that drives the retirement income for so much of the public. What we're really interested in from the industry and from the thought leaders is how do we drive behaviours that serve that public interest and give proper income in retirement.
It's very clear that an industry which is inherently long-term is behaving in a short-term way. There are various factors identified in the Bank of England report. For example, low levels of risk-bearing by both life companies and pension funds, pro-cyclical behaviour by life companies, significant herding within DB pension funds. All of these factors are reflective of short-term behaviours.
As I see it, what we need to do is to move to a much simpler financial system with much less interactive complexity, looser coupling, focused institutions and direct links between savers on the one hand and companies and the infrastructure in which their savings are invested in on the other.
I think there are three things we need to think about. Firstly, we need to talk about liability matching and what that means. We need to think about how we measure risk, what that also means for pension funds and insurers. And allied to that, thirdly, we need to think about the regulatory framework that sits around that.
A couple of messages I would have for the industry coming out of this. One was that we do need to be sensible in the way we think about things, and that sounds a bit empty, but there was a fear that we're getting too constrained in the way we think about risk, for example, about people's appetite for risk and how that was then feeding into regulation of behaviour. And we also need to not always be transparent if that's going to come at the cost of being sensible. So that for me was quite interesting, but the real problem is that you can have all of this debate and end up feeling that you need a lot of reform, whereas I'm not sure that's really on the table.